Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment how we often speak to ourselves. In the hustle of everyday life, we might be our harshest critics, beating ourselves up over small mistakes, doubting our abilities, or focusing on every little failure. We sometimes even tell ourselves that we're not good enough, that we don't deserve success, or that we're not capable of reaching our goals. But what if I told you that if we change the way we talk to ourselves for just 3 days, it could have a profound effect on our mindset, our actions, and our outcomes? In the words of Simon Sinek, talk to yourself like you would talk to someone you love. Simple, isn't it? But think about it. If we treated ourselves with the same kindness, patience, and compassion that we offer to our friends, loved ones, or colleagues, how different would our experience of the world be? The way we speak to ourselves has an immense impact on our mindset, actions, and outcomes. It might seem like a small or even insignificant thing, but the truth is that our inner dialogue shapes our reality more than we realize. Often we are our harshest critics, and this negative self-talk can hold us back in ways we don't even fully understand. When we constantly tell ourselves that we're not good enough, that we'll never achieve our goals, or that we are destined to fail, we are essentially sabotaging our own success before we even begin. Negative self-talk is like a constant soundtrack playing in the background of our lives, telling us that we are not worthy, capable, or smart enough. It can paralyze us, create self-doubt, and prevent us from taking action. We start to believe the worst about ourselves and internalize that narrative. It becomes our truth, shaping our behaviors and decisions. For instance, if we believe we can't succeed in a particular task, we might shy away from trying at all. If we tell ourselves we'll never be good enough, we might not even apply for the job we've always wanted. Over time, this kind of thinking becomes a habit, and we limit our potential without even realizing it. On the flip side, positive self-talk has the power to unlock our potential and drive us toward success. When we speak to ourselves with kindness, encouragement, and belief, we begin to cultivate a mindset that supports our growth. Positive self-talk creates an internal environment where we feel empowered to take risks, face challenges, and pursue our goals with determination. It shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, from our shortcomings to our strengths. This shift in perspective can have a profound effect on how we approach life's obstacles. When we practice speaking to ourselves in a positive and supportive way, we create a foundation of self-confidence. We start to believe that we are capable of overcoming challenges, and we are more likely to take action. Instead of thinking, "I can't do this," we might tell ourselves, "I'm going to give this my best shot, and I'll learn along the way." Instead of dwelling on failure, we begin to see mistakes as opportunities to learn and grow. Rather than feeling discouraged by setbacks, we feel motivated to try again, knowing that each attempt brings us closer to success. Moreover, positive self-talk can also help us manage stress and anxiety. When we face difficult situations, our thoughts can either calm us or make us more anxious. If we approach challenges with a negative mindset, we might spiral into fear and doubt. But if we talk to ourselves in a positive, reassuring way, we can remain calm and focused. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," we might remind ourselves, "I've been through tough situations before, and I've always managed to get through them." This kind of mindset helps reduce stress, boosts our resilience, and makes it easier to cope with adversity. The impact of positive self-talk also extends to our relationships. When we treat ourselves with kindness and respect, we are more likely to extend that same attitude toward others. If we constantly criticize and belittle ourselves, it's easy to project that negativity onto those around us. But when we practice self-compassion, we create a ripple effect that can improve our relationships. We become more patient, understanding, and supportive, not only with others, but also with ourselves. The way we talk to ourselves is a reflection of how we value ourselves. If we speak to ourselves in a negative, harsh, or critical way, we are reinforcing the belief that we are unworthy of success, happiness, and fulfillment. But if we choose to speak to ourselves with love, encouragement, and understanding, we begin to affirm our worth. We start to believe that we are deserving of good things and capable of achieving our dreams. This positive self-talk doesn't just change the way we think, it changes the way we act, feel, and experience life. In the end, our inner dialogue is one of the most powerful forces shaping our lives. By becoming more aware of how we talk to ourselves and choosing to speak with kindness, we can transform our mindset, overcome self-doubt, and unlock the full potential within us. Negative self-talk may be a familiar habit, but it's a habit that can be broken with time and practice. The more we speak to ourselves like we would to someone we love, the more we empower ourselves to become the best version of who we are meant to be. Treating yourself with kindness is one of the most important practices we can embrace to improve our mental health, build our confidence, and reach our full potential. In a world that often values achievement, productivity, and perfection, it can be easy to forget the importance of being kind to ourselves. Many of us are quick to offer encouragement, support, and patience to others, but we rarely extend the same level of compassion to ourselves. The harsh self-criticism we direct inwardly often undermines our well-being and growth. Yet when we treat ourselves with the same kindness and care that we give to others, it can transform how we view ourselves and the world around us. The first step toward treating ourselves with kindness is recognizing the way we talk to ourselves. Self-talk is a constant inner dialogue that runs throughout our day. Too often, it's filled with negative thoughts, doubts, and harsh judgments. We might tell ourselves that we're not good enough, that we don't deserve success, or that we will never be able to achieve our goals. These thoughts might feel like they're simply part of our internal narrative, but they hold a lot of power. The more we speak to ourselves negatively, the more we start to believe those words to be true, reinforcing feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. Imagine if we could change that narrative. What if we spoke to ourselves the way we would speak to a friend or a loved one who is struggling? If a friend came to us feeling down or uncertain about their abilities, we wouldn't criticize them or tell them they're not good enough. Instead, we would listen with empathy, offer encouragement, and remind them of their strengths. We would reassure them that they are capable and worthy of success, and that setbacks are simply part of the journey, not a reflection of their worth. But we don't often offer ourselves that same level of compassion. Instead, we tend to be our harshest critics, focusing on our flaws and shortcomings rather than our achievements and potential. When we begin treating ourselves with kindness, we shift our perspective. We start to recognize our inherent value and worth, separate from our mistakes or failures. Kindness toward ourselves means accepting who we are, imperfections and all, without judgment. It's about embracing our humanity and understanding that being kind to ourselves is not about ignoring our flaws or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about acknowledging that we are deserving of love and respect, even when we make mistakes or fall short of our expectations. One of the most powerful ways to practice self-kindness is through self-compassion. Self-compassion involves treating ourselves with the same understanding and care that we would offer a close friend who is going through a difficult time. Rather than criticizing ourselves for feeling anxious, stressed, or overwhelmed, we can acknowledge those feelings without judgment and offer ourselves comfort and reassurance. It's about recognizing that we are not alone in our struggles and that it's okay to be imperfect. We all make mistakes, experience setbacks, and face challenges. Practicing self-compassion allows us to navigate these moments with more grace and resilience. Another aspect of self-kindness is being patient with ourselves. We live in a world that often values quick results and immediate success, but personal growth and progress take time. Being kind to ourselves means giving ourselves the space to grow, learn, and make mistakes without the pressure to be perfect. It means celebrating small wins along the way instead of waiting for the big, final achievement to feel proud of ourselves. We are all on our own unique journeys, and treating ourselves with patience allows us to enjoy the process rather than constantly focusing on the end goal. When we treat ourselves with kindness, we also foster a healthier relationship with our emotions. Negative self-talk often leads to shame, guilt, and fear, which can prevent us from making decisions or taking action. But when we practice kindness, we allow ourselves to experience emotions without feeling overwhelmed by them. We begin to approach our emotions with curiosity and understanding rather than avoiding or suppressing them. This emotional awareness creates a sense of balance and stability, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with a clearer mind and a more open heart. Ultimately, treating ourselves with kindness is a practice that leads to greater self-acceptance and self-love. It encourages us to embrace who we are, flaws and all, and to recognize that we are worthy of respect and compassion. It's not about perfection or being free from mistakes, but rather about treating ourselves with the same love and care we would extend to others. When we make this a habit, it not only improves our mental health, but also enhances our ability to connect with others, take on new challenges, and live a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Kindness, especially toward ourselves, is the foundation for personal growth, happiness, and success. Positive self-talk has an incredible ability to shape the way we experience the world, tackle challenges, and perceive ourselves. The words we speak to ourselves, whether conscious or unconscious, create a framework through which we interpret life's events. When we embrace positive self-talk, we empower ourselves to rise above self-doubt, overcome obstacles, and pursue our goals with confidence and determination. The shift from negative to positive self-talk isn't just about changing a few words. It's about fundamentally altering the way we approach life, transforming our internal dialogue into a source of strength and motivation. At its core, positive self-talk is about choosing to focus on the possibilities rather than the limitations. It's about recognizing that our thoughts have power, and by cultivating an optimistic mindset, we can influence our actions and reactions. When we engage in positive self-talk, we stop seeing ourselves as victims of circumstance, instead viewing ourselves as active participants in shaping our futures. It allows us to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. For example, when facing a difficult project or task, instead of thinking, "I'll never be able to do this," positive self-talk might frame it as, "This is challenging, but I can break it down step by step, and I'll learn as I go." This shift in mindset encourages persistence and problem solving, and it opens the door to creative thinking and innovation. The impact of positive self-talk extends beyond our approach to tasks and challenges. It also plays a significant role in how we perceive ourselves and our worth. Too often, we fall into the trap of self-criticism, thinking that we need to be perfect in every aspect of our lives to be valued. But positive self-talk reminds us that we are worthy of love, success, and happiness simply for being who we are, not because we meet some arbitrary standard of perfection. It invites us to celebrate our strengths and acknowledge our accomplishments, no matter how small they may seem. By focusing on our progress rather than our perceived flaws, we build self-confidence and create a more resilient sense of self-worth. Another benefit of positive self-talk is that it helps us cope with failure in a healthier way. Failure is a natural part of life and a crucial element of growth, but many of us are conditioned to view failure as a sign of inadequacy or defeat. With positive self-talk, however, we can reframe failure as a valuable learning experience. Instead of saying, "I failed, and that means I'm not good enough," we can say, "I failed this time, but that's okay. I've learned what doesn't work, and now I'm one step closer to figuring it out." This mindset encourages resilience, the ability to bounce back after setbacks, and fosters a sense of determination. When we accept failure as part of the process, we're more likely to try again, take risks, and pursue our goals with renewed energy. Positive self-talk also has a profound effect on our emotional well-being. The way we speak to ourselves influences our feelings and mood. When our inner dialogue is filled with negative thoughts, we often feel anxious, stressed, or defeated. This emotional state can drain our energy, diminish our motivation, and cloud our judgment. On the other hand, positive self-talk has the power to elevate our mood and reduce stress. By practicing self-compassion and encouragement, we reduce the impact of negative emotions and create space for more positive feelings like joy, hope, and gratitude. This emotional shift not only makes us feel better in the moment, but also helps us build a more balanced and resilient emotional foundation over time. Furthermore, positive self-talk can improve our physical well-being as well. Stress, anxiety, and negative thinking can take a significant toll on our bodies. They can lead to tension, fatigue, and even chronic health issues. In contrast, when we engage in positive self-talk, we promote relaxation, improve our mental clarity, and reduce the harmful effects of stress. By affirming our ability to handle challenges and stay calm under pressure, we create a sense of ease that extends to both our minds and bodies. The connection between mind and body is powerful, and cultivating a positive internal dialogue can contribute to better physical health as well as better mental health. Ultimately, positive self-talk is about taking control of our inner narrative and choosing to speak to ourselves with the same love, encouragement, and understanding that we would offer to a friend. It's about acknowledging our potential, embracing our imperfections, and believing that we are capable of achieving our dreams. When we practice positive self-talk, we not only change the way we think, but we change the way we act. We approach challenges with confidence, face setbacks with resilience, and take steps toward our goals with determination. The more we practice positive self-talk, the more it becomes a natural and ingrained part of our lives, creating a cycle of positivity, growth, and self-empowerment. It transforms how we perceive ourselves and the world, ultimately helping us live more fulfilling, successful, and meaningful lives. The concept of committing to positive self-talk for just 3 days might seem like a small, almost insignificant challenge, but it holds incredible power. 3 days is a manageable time frame that offers a glimpse into the potential transformation that positive self-talk can bring to our lives. While the practice may begin as a temporary experiment, it has the potential to become a lasting habit that can dramatically shift the way we view ourselves, handle challenges, and approach the world around us. In the fast-paced, goal-oriented world we live in, it's easy to fall into the trap of negative thinking, especially when faced with stress, failure, or self-doubt. We often hear an internal voice that tells us we're not good enough, that we can't do something, or that we're bound to fail. This internal dialogue shapes our actions, decisions, and reactions. If left unchecked, it can limit our potential, breed insecurity, and make us hesitant to take risks. By committing to just 3 days of positive self-talk, we give ourselves an opportunity to counter these negative messages and replace them with thoughts that affirm our worth, encourage growth, and build confidence. 3 days is enough time to begin noticing the effects of positive self-talk. It's a small enough commitment that it doesn't feel overwhelming, yet it's long enough for us to start experiencing the benefits. During these 3 days, we consciously choose to speak to ourselves with kindness, patience, and encouragement. We replace thoughts like, "I can't do this," or "I'm not good enough," with affirmations such as, "I am capable of handling this," and "I am worthy of success." Instead of focusing on our limitations, we remind ourselves of our strengths. It might feel unnatural at first, especially if we're used to being critical or self-deprecating, but the act of deliberately shifting our mindset can yield powerful results in a short time. One of the most profound benefits of this 3-day challenge is that it helps us begin to rewire our thinking patterns. Our brains are wired to follow habitual thought patterns, many of which are negative or self-limiting. These patterns are reinforced over time, and they can become automatic. But the brain is also capable of change, and by intentionally practicing positive self-talk for 3 days, we start creating new neural pathways. The more we affirm our capabilities and strengths, the more we reinforce positive beliefs about ourselves. This can create a ripple effect, where one positive thought leads to another, and soon, we begin to see ourselves and our circumstances through a more empowering lens. Additionally, committing to 3 days of positive self-talk provides a sense of accountability. While it's easy to slip into negative self-talk without thinking twice, when we actively choose to focus on positive affirmations, we become more aware of our inner dialogue. Each time we catch ourselves thinking negatively, we have the opportunity to correct it, reinforcing the habit of positive thinking. This awareness is key to making lasting changes in how we perceive ourselves and handle challenges. It serves as a reminder that we have the power to control our thoughts, and by extension, our actions. Another important aspect of the 3-day challenge is that it helps us build self-compassion. It's easy to be kind and supportive to others, especially when they're going through tough times, but we often fail to show that same compassion to ourselves. By practicing positive self-talk, we begin to treat ourselves with the same understanding and care that we would offer to a friend or loved one. We acknowledge our flaws without judgment, recognizing that we are human and that mistakes are part of the process of growth. This shift in how we view ourselves fosters a sense of self-love and acceptance, which is foundational to building lasting self-esteem and resilience. 3 days may seem like a small commitment, but the impact it can have on our mindset is significant. It gives us a taste of what's possible when we choose to speak to ourselves with kindness, encouragement, and belief. It's long enough to begin breaking the cycle of negative thinking and start replacing it with thoughts that support our personal growth and well-being. It's a challenge that can help us develop a more positive and resilient mindset, empowering us to take on challenges, face setbacks, and pursue our goals with greater confidence. At the end of the 3 days, we may not have completely transformed our mindset or eliminated all negative thoughts, but we'll have created a foundation for lasting change. We'll have seen the power of positive self-talk in action and experienced its benefits firsthand. This can serve as a springboard for continuing the practice beyond 3 days, turning it into a daily habit that shapes our thoughts, actions, and outcomes moving forward. The commitment to just 3 days of positive self-talk is not only a simple challenge. It's the beginning of a journey toward greater self-awareness, self-compassion, and personal growth. Changing our inner dialogue is one of the most powerful tools we have for shaping our lives and achieving personal growth. So often, we let negative thoughts and self-criticism dictate our actions, limiting our potential before we even begin. We view ourselves through a lens of inadequacy, believing that we are not capable or worthy of success. Yet, the simple act of consciously altering the way we speak to ourselves can create profound changes in our mindset, behavior, and overall outlook on life. By changing our inner dialogue, we empower ourselves to face challenges, embrace opportunities, and approach life with renewed confidence. The first step in changing our inner dialogue is becoming aware of the way we speak to ourselves. Many of us have internalized negative self-talk over the years, and it often runs on autopilot. We might not even recognize how damaging these thoughts can be because they feel so familiar. Thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never succeed," may feel like they are just part of who we are, but they are not truths. They are merely thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. Recognizing that these negative thoughts are not inherent truths, but instead learned patterns is the first step in shifting our perspective. Once we acknowledge these negative patterns, we can begin the process of changing them. This involves replacing self-criticism with more supportive and empowering thoughts. For example, when we think, "I can't do this," we can replace that with, "This is difficult, but I have the ability to work through it." Instead of focusing on the obstacles in our path, we can focus on the steps we can take to overcome them. Changing our inner dialogue doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It means approaching ourselves with understanding and compassion, recognizing that we have the capacity to grow and learn from every experience. One of the most powerful ways to change our inner dialogue is by embracing the idea that failure is not a reflection of our worth, but rather an opportunity for growth. Often, we are afraid to fail because we associate failure with personal inadequacy. We might think, if I fail, it means I'm not good enough, but in reality, failure is a necessary part of the learning process. Every successful person has experienced failure, and it is through these setbacks that we learn the most valuable lessons. When we shift our inner dialogue from one of judgment and defeat to one of acceptance and growth, we begin to see failure as a stepping stone rather than an obstacle. Instead of thinking, I failed, so I'm not capable, we can think, I failed, but now I know what doesn't work, and I can try again with new insights. Another key aspect of changing our inner dialogue is learning to speak to ourselves with kindness. So often, we are quick to extend kindness to others but fail to show the same compassion to ourselves. If a friend came to us feeling discouraged, we would likely offer words of encouragement and support. We might tell them, "You're doing your best, and that's enough." Or "It's okay to make mistakes. You'll learn and grow from this." But when we are the ones struggling, we tend to be much harsher. We might say to ourselves, "You should have known better," or "Why can't you get it right?" By changing this approach and speaking to ourselves as we would speak to a friend, we create a more supportive and loving inner dialogue. This practice of self-compassion helps to build self-esteem, reduce anxiety, and foster a sense of inner peace. Changing our inner dialogue also requires patience. Shifting long-standing thought patterns takes time, and it's important to be gentle with ourselves during this process. We may slip back into negative thinking at times, but instead of criticizing ourselves for this, we can simply acknowledge it and return to our practice of positive self-talk. The key is consistency. The more we practice positive self-talk, the more natural it becomes, and over time, it becomes our default mode of thinking. Just like any habit, it takes repetition and intention to rewire our brains and create lasting change. As we change our inner dialogue, we begin to notice the impact it has on our actions and outcomes. When we speak to ourselves with kindness, encouragement, and belief, we become more confident in our abilities. We are more likely to take risks, embrace new opportunities, and push ourselves outside our comfort zones. We stop waiting for perfection or fear of failure to hold us back, and instead we focus on progress and growth. Changing our inner dialogue doesn't mean we will never face challenges or setbacks, but it does mean we will approach them with a mindset of resilience, adaptability, and self-compassion. Ultimately, changing our inner dialogue is one of the most effective ways to take control of our lives. The words we speak to ourselves shape our perception of reality, influence our behaviors, and define our self-worth. By consciously shifting from negative, limiting thoughts to positive, empowering ones, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We stop being held back by self-doubt and start embracing our full potential. Changing our inner dialogue is not an overnight process, but it is a transformative one. The more we practice, the more we begin to see ourselves as capable, worthy, and deserving of success and happiness. By changing the way we talk to ourselves, we change the way we live our lives. The most profound impact of transforming our inner dialogue through positive self-talk is the ripple effect it creates in various areas of our lives. When we commit to shifting the way we speak to ourselves, it doesn't just change how we view ourselves. It also transforms how we interact with others, how we handle stress, and how we approach challenges. Positive self-talk is not just a mental exercise. It is a practice that influences our actions, emotions, and behaviors, creating a domino effect that can enhance our relationships, resilience, and overall well-being. One of the first and most noticeable changes is in how we perceive ourselves. Our self-image is largely shaped by the way we speak to ourselves. For many of us, years of negative self-talk have created a distorted view of our abilities, worth, and potential. We may see ourselves as incapable, unworthy, or inadequate, which can lead to feelings of insecurity and self-doubt. But when we actively practice positive self-talk, we start to shift this internal narrative. Instead of focusing on what we lack or where we fall short, We begin to recognize our strengths, accomplishments, and the value we bring to the world. This shift in self-perception fosters a stronger sense of self-worth and builds the foundation for greater confidence. This newfound confidence doesn't just remain internal, it affects how we engage with the world. As we begin to speak to ourselves with kindness and encouragement, we are more likely to extend that same kindness to others. Positive self-talk increases our empathy and compassion, not only toward ourselves, but also toward the people around us. When we treat ourselves with respect and patience, we are more likely to treat others in the same way. In relationships, this translates to improved communication, greater understanding, and a more supportive, nurturing environment. Our ability to offer genuine encouragement and support to others grows when we first learn to offer those things to ourselves. This shift can have a profound impact on personal relationships, fostering deeper connections and more harmonious interactions.